Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from today. I'd love to know. And if you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, let's jump in. Richard Collins stood in the middle of a huge round room that didn't feel like Earth at all. The air was thick and strange, and everything smelled like metal. Around him sat creatures from all over the galaxy. Some with wings, some with scales, some with way too many eyes. 37 alien leaders were all watching one speaker in the center, Ambassador Vrex of the Voraxian Empire. Richard was the only human there. "These humans," Vrex said loudly, blinking his 6 eyes one after another, "are more dangerous than they look. In just 100 of their years, they went from flying little airplanes to landing on their moon. Their weapons get stronger every year. They fight each other all the time." He paused, letting the words sit in the air like smoke. "If we don't stop them now, they could one day become a threat to us all." Richard wanted to shout. He wanted to tell them that humans were more than war. That humans were smart, kind, funny, and full of love. But the council didn't care about that. And worst of all, Richard wasn't allowed to talk unless they asked him to. They never asked. "I say we label Earth as a Class C world," Vrex continued. "That means we take control. For their own safety, of course." Richard felt cold. He knew what Class C really meant. It was just a fancy way of saying slave. Once Earth was labeled that way, the Council could take anything they wanted: people, resources, freedom. The voting began. One by one, the alien leaders made their choices. Richard watched helplessly as green lights blinked next to their names. Votes in favor. When the final count showed 30 votes for, 7 against, Richard's stomach sank. "The council has spoken," said the old, slow voice of the Trilani moderator. "Earth is now under our care. Integration begins in 30 days. Richard tried to leave, but 2 tall Varaxian guards stepped in front of him. "You appear unwell," one of them said, with a fake smile. "Medical help has been arranged." "I don't need a doctor," Richard snapped. "I need to talk to my people." "You will," the guard said, "after your checkup." But Richard knew the truth. He was no longer a guest. He was a prisoner. Earth had been silenced. Back on Earth, thousands of miles away from the Council's tall silver towers and floating platforms, Dr. Olivia Ward sat frozen in her chair. The numbers on her computer screen were wrong. They had to be. She blinked, adjusted her glasses, and looked again. The strange space signals she had been watching for weeks were now changing. Fast. Olivia was NASA's lead signal analyst. 6 months ago, she had helped decode the Council's first message to Earth, the one that introduced the aliens and promised friendship. But now, the messages had turned into something else. Heavier, colder, and full of energy waves that felt too big to be peaceful. Her phone rang. "Olivia, it's Frank," said a deep voice on the other end. It was Frank Peterson, a top agent from military intelligence. "Are you seeing this?" "I am," she said. 3 massive ships, bigger than anything we've tracked before." "It's worse," Frank replied. "There are reports of people going missing. Whole families. Mostly near coastlines. No explosions. No clues. Just gone." Olivia's chest tightened. "When did this start?" 12 hours ago. Same time we lost contact with Ambassador Collins." Her secure phone line lit up. Another call was coming in. "The president?" Olivia whispered. Minutes later, she was on a video call with the highest-ranking officials in the country. The president, the Joint Chiefs, and two military commanders she hadn't met before. One of them, Captain Alan Mitchell, looked like someone who never smiled. "Dr. Ward," the president said, voice low and serious. "What are we facing?" She didn't sugarcoat it. "The ships coming are not like the ones we've seen before. They aren't here to talk. They're warships." Captain Mitchell leaned closer. "So the council gave their answer." The president nodded. "No contact from Collins in over 16 hours. We must assume the worst." Frank Peterson spoke up. "We need a plan. Fast." Just then, Olivia's computer beeped. A new message appeared on the screen. The text was strange, scrambled, as if run through a bad translator, but the meaning was clear. Earth. Classified. Class C. Resistance. Useless. Prepare for integration. Next to the message was a countdown timer. 29 days, 14 hours, and counting. 3 days later, the Varaxian ships arrived. They didn't land. They floated. Each ship, shaped like a giant black stingray, hovered silently above major cities: New York, Beijing, London, Cairo, casting shadows so wide they blocked the sun. People filled the streets. Some were crying. Others were filming with their phones. Most were just staring, unable to believe what they were seeing. The skies buzzed with the sound of something ancient and mechanical, like thunder from inside a machine. Then every screen on Earth, phones, TVs, billboards, even smartwatches, switched on. A single face appeared, tall, gray-blue, 6 eyes blinking in slow rhythm. "I am General Drasque," the alien said, speaking in English, Spanish, Mandarin, and dozens of other languages at once. "You are honored. Your species has been chosen to receive guidance from the Galactic Council. You will now enter the Class C integration program." He smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "You have 30 days to prepare. Resistance will result in pacification. This is our mercy." Then the screen went black. Around the world, panic erupted. People screamed. Some ran. Others just stood there, frozen like Olivia had been in her chair. In bunkers and war rooms, leaders from every country scrambled to figure out what pacification really meant. In the White House Situation Room, Olivia played the message again. She noticed something most people wouldn't have seen. In the background, hidden in the noise, was a static pattern, almost like a secret code. "That's not just background fuzz," she said, pointing. "It's data, probably a signal sent to their ground forces." "Ground forces?" Captain Mitchell asked. Frank nodded grimly. "The abductions, they've already started. They're preparing for a full invasion." The president looked at them all. "Options?" Captain Mitchell paused. "Direct military attack would be suicide, but there's a chance we could capture one of their smaller ships. Dr. Ward said they've been sending scouts over the Arctic Circle. If we can get one, study their tech, maybe." "Do it," the president ordered, "whatever it takes." Because now the truth was clear to everyone in the room. This wasn't just about Earth joining some space club. This was a hostile takeover. And if humanity didn't act soon, their cities, their homes, even their kids, would all belong to someone else. We continue directly from the moment the president gives the order to capture an alien ship. This section dives into the mission, the science, and the early steps of resistance, keeping the narrative flowing and written in a simple yet deep style. Far in the frozen north, where the snow never melts and the sun barely rises, a small team of humans moved quietly across the white land. Their boots crunched softly over ice, but their hearts pounded like drums. Lieutenant Grace Hoffman, wrapped in layers of white camouflage, crouched low and lifted her binoculars. Just beyond the ridge, a strange-looking ship hovered over the ground. It was silent and smooth, shaped like a silver beetle. Lights blinked underneath it as it slowly scanned the icy ground, collecting samples. It didn't know it was being watched. Target confirmed. Hoffman whispered into her radio. 2 occupants. No signs of backup. Copy, came a voice through her earpiece. EMP, ready, on your mark. Their plan was simple, but very risky. Use a special electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, to shut down the ship's systems. Then rush in and capture the alien crew before they could call for help. If they failed, the Council would know humans were fighting back, and Earth would lose the element of surprise. Hoffman breathed in slowly. 3, 2, 1. Mark. A soft whump echoed through the air as the EMP device fired. The ship shuddered. Its lights flickered. It dropped about 20 feet before stopping, floating just above the ground like a balloon losing air. Go! Hoffman shouted. Her team sprinted across the ice. The ship tried to rise again, but its engine sputtered like a dying bird. A hatch opened, and an alien stepped out. It had gray-blue skin, long arms, and 4 eyes stacked in pairs. It looked startled, then angry. It raised a strange weapon. Hoffman didn't hesitate. She fired first. A thin dart flew through the cold air and struck the alien in the neck. It staggered, then collapsed with a groan. Another figure moved inside the ship, its long fingers dancing over glowing buttons. Second target still active, said Sergeant Ryan from behind her. Inside the cockpit. Flashbangs, Hoffman ordered. 2 small grenades flew into the open hatch and exploded with a bang and a blinding light. Moments later, Hoffman and her soldiers stormed the ship. The second alien was slumped over the controls, unconscious. Ship secure. Target secure, Hoffman reported, requesting extraction. Back at a hidden facility deep under the mountains of Wyoming, a team of scientists and engineers gathered around the captured ship. They stared at it in awe. It didn't look like anything humans had ever built, smooth and silent, with no bolts or seams. It almost seemed alive. Dr. Olivia Ward placed her hand on its outer shell. It doesn't feel like metal, she whispered. It feels like stone or bone. Inside the ship, Paul Rodriguez, a language expert, was already studying strange symbols on the panels. This writing system, he said, shaking his head, it's not Varaxian. It's something older. One of the captured aliens was slowly waking up in a secure room. Its eyes blinked in different directions. It looked around with confusion, then fear. A shimmering force field kept it locked in place. Rodriguez stepped forward carefully. Can you understand me? The alien blinked again. All council species learn basic languages of primitive worlds, it said. I am Zex, Scout Class. You have made a big mistake. Varaxians will destroy you for this. Captain Mitchell crossed his arms. They were already planning to destroy us, so I don't think we've lost anything. Dr. Ward stepped up to the field. "Why did the council vote against us?" she asked. "We never attacked you. We never even left our own planet." Zex made a clicking sound that might have been a laugh. "Humans do not understand. Council not about peace. Council about control. Power. You have something they want." "What?" Frank Peterson asked. "Your world," Zex said simply, "and soon your bodies. For labor." Later, in the lab, Dr. Ward examined the ship's controls. Something didn't make sense. The buttons were arranged for hands with 6 fingers, but Zex only had 4. "This ship wasn't made by you, was it?" she asked. Zex didn't deny it. Number Varaxians take tech from other species. This ship, Trilani design. They modified it. "So the council just steals technology?" Rodriguez asked. "For centuries," Zex replied. "The strong rule. The weak obey. That is the council way." Peterson walked in, holding a tablet. "We just cracked some of the ship's data files. You need to see this." He held up the screen. "It's a list. Every council member who voted to classify Earth. And every one of them gets paid huge amounts from Varaxian mining guilds." Dr. Ward's face went pale. "It's not protection," she whispered. "It's corruption." Zex's body tensed. "Careful with truth. Varaxians kill for less." Rodriguez leaned forward. "But why Earth? There must be other planets with minerals." Zex's many eyes turned toward the wall of the ship, where a glowing blue crystal was embedded. "This," Zex said, "crystal used for fast space travel. Very rare. Earth full of it. Water rich. Mineral rich. Billions of workers. You are perfect." Back in another lab, scientists found small metal discs stored inside the ship. Devices with needle-like tips. "Neural dampeners," Zex explained when shown a picture. "Put on neck. Connect to brain. Make slave obey." "But they don't work well on humans," Dr. Ward said. Zex nodded. "Human brain strange. Waves too messy. Unpredictable. You are difficult to control." Mitchell raised his eyebrow. "So that's why they're abducting people. They're running tests, trying to figure us out." "Exactly," said Frank. "And it means we have a chance. A very small chance." Dr. Ward looked at the neural dampener on the table, and an idea began to form. Dr. Olivia Ward couldn't sleep. For 2 nights straight, she sat alone in her lab, surrounded by alien tech, half-drunk coffee, and pages of messy notes. But her mind was sharper than ever. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw it again. The strange pattern in the neural dampeners, the way they fizzled when used on humans, the chaos in brainwave data. Other species had neat, simple waves. Humans? It looked like thunder crashing through a storm. And that chaos might be their secret weapon. She sat in front of a whiteboard, writing and erasing, again and again. Circles, arrows, brain scans, alien symbols. The key wasn't to block the alien tech. It was to use it against them. If they could take the wild energy of a human mind and amplify it, maybe they could scramble the whole control system. Not just protect themselves, but shut everything down. By the time the sun rose, she had the first sketch of a prototype. 3 hours later, the president, the Joint Chiefs, and a room full of top engineers and scientists gathered in the underground war room. Olivia stood at the front, circles under her eyes, but a fire in her voice. Behind her, a new diagram lit up the screen. A strange-looking helmet connected to a small box with wires and tubes. "This is it," she said. "This is how we fight back." The room fell silent. This device reads the natural chaos in a human brain, the noise, the messiness, the randomness, and instead of trying to clean it up, it sends it out, strong, focused, like a signal bomb. When it hits Varaxian tech, it causes system failure, temporary at first, but if we get the frequency right, it could shut down their weapons, ships, maybe even their neural network. Captain Mitchell stepped forward. "Have you tested it?" "Not fully," Olivia admitted. "We've only tried it on the scout ship we captured, but it worked. The power system glitched. The control panel reset itself. The ship thought it was under psychic attack." "We need someone to wear it," said Frank Peterson. "A human brain has to power the signal." "I'll do it," said a voice. Everyone turned. Lieutenant Grace Hoffman stood in the back of the room, her posture straight, her eyes calm. "My team caught that ship. I'm not sitting out the next phase." An hour later, Hoffman sat in a padded chair in the test chamber. The helmet had been fitted to her head, connected by wires to a machine that hummed like a sleeping beast. Her hands gripped the armrests. Olivia stood behind a protective glass wall, monitoring the readings. "Ready?" Olivia asked. "Ready," Hoffman said. "Do it." Olivia flipped the switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Hoffman gasped. Her eyes widened. "It feels like—" "My thoughts are too loud," she said. "Like I can hear them echoing." Inside the lab, a piece of the alien ship they had brought in, the same control panel from earlier, began to spark. Lights flickered. The blue crystal inside it dimmed, then pulsed wildly. "It's working," Olivia said, typing fast. "The effect is stronger than we thought." "Can't hold it too long," Hoffman said through gritted teeth. "Feels like my brain's shouting." 10 more seconds, Olivia called. "We're almost there." The machine whirred, louder and louder, until Olivia shut it down. The helmet powered off. Hoffman slumped back in the chair, breathing hard. "That was intense," she said. "But it worked, didn't it?" "It more than worked," Olivia said. "If we can build more of these, hundreds, we might have a real chance." Captain Mitchell stepped into the lab. "How fast can we make them?" Olivia looked at the tangled machine and bit her lip. "The components are complex. We can simplify the design, strip it down to the essentials. If every country helps, maybe 2 weeks." "Faster," the president said. "You'll get anything you need." And so the race began. Around the world, secret factories started building disruptors. Military bases turned into assembly lines. Scientists from Japan, Germany, India, Brazil, and beyond joined the effort. Designs were shared through secure satellites. Every country, even enemies, worked together for one reason: survival. Dr. Ward became the center of it all, sleeping only when her body forced her to. Paul Rodriguez handled translations from the alien tech, working with her day and night to perfect the frequency range. Frank Peterson used data from the scout ship to track weak points in the Varaxian systems. Hoffman helped test every new version of the helmet, pushing herself through headaches and blackouts. Captain Mitchell coordinated with world leaders turning Olivia's science into a real battle plan. They called the project Signal Storm. But the clock kept ticking. Varaxian ships still hovered above Earth cities. Abductions increased. People vanished from hospitals, universities, military bases. The aliens were getting desperate and smarter. "We've got a problem," Frank said one night, entering the command center with grim news. "They're adapting." He showed satellite images. Several human jets sent to scout alien locations had gone dark. Others returned with data showing alien ships recovering faster after being hit by disruptors. "They're changing their systems," Frank said. "Their neural net is learning. If we don't move soon, this tech won't work anymore." Captain Mitchell frowned. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 5 days." "Then we don't wait," Mitchell said. "We strike first." All across the planet, the skies still shimmered with the shadows of the alien ships. They had been floating silently for weeks now, dark giants watching from above. But the world below them wasn't asleep anymore. Beneath the streets, in hidden bases, inside research labs and hangars, humanity was getting ready. 3 days. That's how long they had before the Varaxians began full-scale invasion. Dr. Olivia Ward barely left the command center. Her eyes were bloodshot, her coat wrinkled, but her mind was sharp. The final version of the disruptor units had just come off the line. Sleek, simple, and powerful. A metal band with sensors and a signal core, light enough to wear, strong enough to crash alien systems. In a room full of high-ranking officers and world leaders, Captain Mitchell stood next to a glowing map. Dots covered every continent. Each one marked a disruptor team. "We've manufactured over 500 units," he said, "thanks to international cooperation. We have less than 72 hours to launch a global strike." The president leaned forward. "What's the plan?" Mitchell pointed to the dots. "We split into 2 teams. Team 1, pilots equipped with disruptors, will hit the smaller Varaxian ships across the planet. Disable, not destroy. The goal is to take back the skies." He paused, then looked at Lieutenant Hoffman, who stood straight, suited in her gear. Team 2, Hoffman's unit, will use a stolen scout ship to board the Varaxian command vessel. Their mission: reach the central communication hub and upload the evidence we've collected. Once the Council sees what the Varaxians have done, breaking their own laws, abducting before the deadline, lying about human aggression, they'll have no choice but to act. "And if they don't?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "Then Earth falls," Mitchell answered, "but not without a fight." 2 days later, just before sunrise, the final phase began. Lieutenant Hoffman stood on a snow-covered runway in Alaska, staring at the small alien vessel her team had captured. It had been cleaned, patched, and reprogrammed by human engineers. The controls were still alien, but they had learned enough to fly it. Her team climbed aboard, one by one, wearing white suits with embedded disruptor bands and encrypted comms. "Remember," she told them, "we don't just fight for Earth. We fight to expose the truth. Once this gets out, the whole galaxy could rise with us." At the same time, in bases around the world, fighter jets roared to life. Each jet had been retrofitted with disruptor tech, mounted in the nose, linked to the pilot's neural readings, ready to fire. Captain Mitchell sat in the lead aircraft, his fingers tightening around the controls. "Disruptor's hot," his co-pilot confirmed. Targets locked, Mitchell replied. Let's show them what Earth can do. At exactly 0600 hours, the sky exploded. Jets tore through the clouds, heading straight for the alien scouts. The disruptors hummed, then fired. Invisible pulses shot forward. Human thoughts, chaos, fear, anger, all turned into weapons. The Varaxian ships blinked, sputtered, and dropped. Shields failed. Engines stalled. The aliens had expected surrender. They got war. Mitchell's squadron flew low over San Francisco Bay. 3 enemy ships hovered above the water. His jet's sensors buzzed. Varaxian systems were unstable. Disruptors at full power, he ordered. Fire only when you see a flicker. The moment one ship's shield blinked out, he pulled the trigger. A missile sliced through the sky and struck the ship's side. Fire erupted as the alien craft spiraled downward, crashing into the ocean. Direct hit, Mitchell said. Similar messages came from Tokyo, Cairo, Berlin, and Cape Town. But victory wouldn't be easy. High above Earth, the Varaxian command ship watched the chaos. Inside its glowing halls, General Drasque stared at the battle reports, his fists clenched. These humans, he hissed, are not behaving like other Class C species. His second-in-command, a nervous creature with twitching limbs, handed him another report. We've lost 14 scout ships in under 10 minutes. Their weapons, they're not like before. They're broadcasting something. Drasque slammed his hand on the console. Begin bombardment, he snarled. Target their cities. If we can't enslave them, we will break them. The first energy beam fired from the sky above Washington, D.C., carving a glowing scar down the middle of the city. Fires erupted. Buildings shattered. People screamed and ran. Beams followed in Paris, in Mumbai, in Sao Paulo. Earth's hopeful counterattack was now a desperate battle for survival. In the hidden command center, alarms screamed. Dr. Ward stared at the screens. Red lights blinked everywhere. They're retaliating, she whispered. Captain Mitchell's voice crackled through the radio. We can't hold this forever. We need something bigger. A full shutdown. Ward's eyes moved quickly over her computer. Then she stood up so fast, her chair tipped backward. The satellites, she said. If we can link the disruptor signal to the satellite network, we could create a planet-wide blast. All Varaxian tech, disabled at once. Can we do that? The president asked. In theory, yes, but we'll need more power. A lot more. Within minutes, global power grids were rerouted. Dams, wind farms, nuclear stations, all redirected energy toward key uplinks. Teams of scientists worked together, writing code, patching systems, connecting the disruptor network to Earth's sky-wide satellite field. Hoffman's team, meanwhile, had reached the Varaxian command ship. They flew in under a stolen ID code. The ship's gates opened automatically. Disruptors on standby, she whispered. Inside, the corridors glowed blue and pulsed like veins. They moved fast, silent, careful. A few guards spotted them, but their weapons fizzled the moment Hoffman's team activated their devices. One by one, they took control of the upper levels, heading deeper into the ship. They were only 300 meters from the communication core when they hit resistance. A full squad of Varaxian soldiers opened fire. Maximum disruptor output, Hoffman shouted. Her team held their ground, the disruptors buzzing like thunder in their heads. Alien weapons died mid-shot. The humans pushed forward. But Hoffman noticed something that made her stomach twist. Their systems. They're recovering faster, she said into her calm. Ward, they're adapting. In the lab on Earth, Olivia didn't hesitate. I'm sending new frequencies now. Tell your team to update disruptor patterns. Fast. Back in the ship, Hoffman tapped her wrist pad. Her helmet flashed green. Updated, she said. Let's move. They reached the communication core, two massive towers humming with alien energy. Sergeant Ryan pulled out a small device, a drive filled with the evidence of everything the Council needed to see. Zex's confession, the illegal abductions, the mining bribes, the data proving humanity had never attacked first. I don't know their language, Ryan muttered. Look for the broadcast symbol, Hoffman said, scanning the alien runes. He found it, plugged in the drive. Uploading. 10%. 20%. 30%. Then a blast shook the room. General Draskwa himself stepped into the chamber, armor glowing, eyes burning. Humans, he growled, always breaking things. He raised his arm. A new weapon formed from his shoulder plate. You will not leave this ship alive. General Draskwa stepped fully into the communication chamber, his shadow stretching across the floor like a dark storm cloud. His 6 glowing eyes locked onto Lieutenant Hoffman, who stood between him and the console. Behind her, Sergeant Ryan crouched by the alien controls, eyes flicking between the unfamiliar symbols and the upload progress bar on his screen. 50%. Still climbing. Too slow. You think you've won, Draskwa said, his voice low and heavy, like metal grinding against stone. You think sending little data packets will stop the inevitable. The Council already made their decision, and soon they'll kneel too. He raised his arm. The weapon mounted to his armor began to charge, glowing red. A high-pitched whine filled the room. Hoffman dove behind a console just as the beam fired, searing past her and carving a molten scar in the wall. Sparks rained down. Heat washed over her face. Status? She shouted. 63%, Ryan answered. But he's locking us out of the system. He's fighting the upload. Draskwa stalked forward, slow and sure, stepping over the bodies of fallen guards. You've disrupted our ships. You've slowed our plans. But I will still win. Earth will burn, and I will take your people, 1 billion at a time. Hoffman fired her rifle, but the shot bounced off his armor like a pebble off steel. I've upgraded, he said. Your little tricks won't work anymore. Then we'll get creative, Hoffman muttered. She tapped her helmet. Doctor, Ward, we need emergency override frequencies. He's jamming the uplink. In the command center back on Earth, Dr. Olivia Ward was already working. Her hands flew across her keyboard, pulling up encrypted codes and raw data streams. I'm sending the newest waveform now. But Hoffman, listen. His armor has a shielding matrix. If you can overload it with an amplified blast, even for a second, it might expose the neural mesh. Got it, Hoffman said. She turned to her team. Charge all units to maximum. Sync on my signal. They didn't hesitate. Even as Draskwa raised his weapon again, the remaining soldiers dropped into position, crouched behind consoles, walls, anything they could find, and calibrated their disruptors. Now, Hoffman shouted. A shock wave of raw human brain energy blasted outward, louder than sound, invisible but real. Drasque staggered. His weapon fizzled. Lights on his chest plate shorted out. For a heartbeat, he was exposed. Ryan didn't wait. He grabbed a modified pulse grenade from his belt, activated the neural overload setting, and hurled it at the general's feet. It detonated with a blinding white flash. Drasque roared, a deep, furious sound that shook the walls, and dropped to one knee. Hoffman didn't waste the opening. She sprinted to the console and slammed her palm down beside Ryan. Let's finish this. The progress bar raced forward. 84%, 91%, 97%, 100%. The screen flickered. The lights changed. Council not about peace. Council about power. And humans have what they want. Then video evidence, secret footage of Varaxian mining guilds paying council reps, abduction records with human names and photos, sensor logs showing Earth was peaceful when first contact was made. Then came the live feed. Earth under fire. Washington burning. Bombardments in Paris. Hospitals and schools turned to ash. And Drasque, standing at the center of it all, laughing as he watched. The reaction was immediate. On the Arcturan homeworld, Council Ambassador Leneva stood up in the Grand Chamber, her face pale with fury. This is war. One by one, representatives rose from their seats. Emergency session. They violated protocol. This cannot stand. Reclassify Earth now. Ambassador Richard Collins, recovered from his forced sedation, entered the chamber flanked by guards and Earth's backup ambassador, Julia Kennedy. Together, they approached the central platform. You were deceived, Collins said, voice firm but tired. The Varaxians lied. They silenced me. They bombed our cities. You've seen it. You know the truth. Kennedy stepped forward and held up a small crystal drive. And we have more. Their scientists experimented on our people. Hundreds taken. Their minds twisted. They broke your laws before the ink was dry. The Trelawney moderator, an ancient alien with skin like stone, looked around the room. Motion to reclassify Earth as a sovereign world, he said. I second, said the Arcturan. Vote now. The results flashed across the chamber's giant dome. 33 in favor, 4 against. Earth was free. But the fight wasn't over. Back on the command ship, Drasque, still on one knee, looked up. His communicator buzzed. He tapped it, expecting a report. But his expression changed when he heard the voice on the other end. General Drasque, this is the Council. You are ordered to stand down and withdraw your forces immediately. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his expression hardened. No, he whispered. I've come too far. He looked up at Hoffman, eyes blazing. I don't take orders from cowards behind desks. The Council is not here. I am. And this world, it will still be mine. He stood to full height, armor sparking, power cores glowing. Ready to die, little human? But before he could strike, the walls of the chamber shook. Boom! The ship jolted. Boom! Another explosion. Closer this time. What is that? Ryan asked, steadying himself. Hoffman checked her tablet. It's Earth, she said. We're not done yet. The Varaxian command ship trembled again. Far above Earth's surface, in the orbit where silence should reign, fire bloomed. Captain Mitchell flew alongside the last remaining fighter jets, eyes locked on the data streams pouring into his console. "It's time." Dr. Olivia Ward's voice crackled through the comms. "The satellite network is ready. Disruptor signal is loaded. On your mark." "Then we end it now," Mitchell said. "All units, prepare for global pulse." From the surface of Earth to the rim of the upper atmosphere, hundreds of satellites aligned in formation. They had been built for communications, weather, and spying, but now they had a new job. Each one carried a version of Dr. Ward's disruptor, powered by rerouted energy grids from around the world. Lights across cities flickered as power surged into the skies. Dr. Ward's finger hovered over the final key. The president gave a silent nod. She pressed it. A pulse, invisible but colossal, rippled across the planet. It wasn't a sound. It was a feeling. A strange buzz behind the eyes. A static hum inside the soul. Every Varaxian ship in Earth's orbit lit up with static. Engines stopped. Weapons flickered and died. Systems short-circuited, one by one. They dropped from the sky like stones. On the command ship, Drasque felt it immediately. The floor pitched under him. Lights failed. Gravity warped. Consoles sparked. One by one, systems failed. "What have you done?" he roared. "This," Hoffman said, standing tall, helmet crackling with final waves of power, "is what happens when you underestimate humanity." Around them, doors hissed open. More humans poured into the corridor. Backup teams armed with disruptor rifles. But they weren't alone. From a secured wing, a new group emerged. Aliens of every shape and kind. Former slaves, prisoners, test subjects, creatures with fur, with scales, with wings, with trembling hands, but all with fire in their eyes. Among them was the four-armed Telnari named Sorlin, who had first spoken through the prison door. "You're not the only ones who've suffered," he said, voice calm but burning with purpose. "We help you fight." Drasque tried to activate his last weapon. Nothing. He reached for a hidden blade. A clawed hand knocked it from his grip. Another seized his shoulder. Within seconds, he was pulled down by dozens of arms, tentacles, and fists, held down, not with violence, but with strength, shared among the once helpless. "You will answer for your crimes," Sorlin said. Drasque screamed, but this time no one listened. Back on Earth, the skies began to clear. The massive Varaxian ships fell like broken statues, crashing into oceans and empty fields. Some disintegrated mid-air, their cores overwhelmed by disruptor feedback. No more beams. No more shadows. Just silence. In cities once choked by fear, people came out of hiding. First in ones and twos, then in crowds. They looked up. They cried. They held hands. The war was over. In the council chambers, the vote to remove all Varaxian military authority was unanimous. General Drasque was sentenced to stand trial, not just for crimes against Earth, but for centuries of hidden atrocities. Council members who had taken bribes were stripped of their power. The old hierarchy collapsed in days. Ambassador Julia Kennedy stood before the new council, now seated in a circle instead of tiers. Equal voices, equal votes. "Earth is ready to take its place among the stars," she said, not as a subject, not as a servant, as a friend. The Arcturan ambassador smiled. Your world changed the game. Indeed, Earth's resistance had become a beacon. On planet after planet, beings once labeled as lower species stood up. They refused to bow. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy listened. 6 months later, a sleek starship hovered over Geneva's new Galactic Cooperation Center. Its name was painted in glowing blue across its hull: Freedom. Captain Alan Mitchell stood at the base of the landing pad, arms crossed, as the ship came to rest. He watched the door slide open and saw Lieutenant Grace Hoffman step out, wearing the dark gray uniform of the newly formed Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Her helmet was under one arm. Her smile was quiet, but proud. All systems green, she said. We're ready. Mitchell nodded. Your next mission? Proxima Colony, still under threat from slavers. They asked for help, and they asked for humans. Mitchell grinned. Let's not keep them waiting. Inside the Freedom, the crew gathered. Not just humans, Telnari, Arcturans, Vexari, even a few council members who had renounced the old ways. They had come together, not as conquerors or servants, but as equals. Many had been slaves just months ago. Now they were protectors. In her lab, Dr. Olivia Ward placed the original prototype disruptor helmet inside a glass case. The plaque read, "The brainwave that broke the chains." Next to her, Paul Rodriguez was putting the finishing touches on a new universal language system, designed so that no species would ever be left out of the conversation again. And across the stars, the name Earth no longer meant primitive. It meant free. It meant fierce. It meant hope. The Council had voted to enslave humanity. Instead, humanity overthrew the galaxy. And this was just the beginning.